Hello, lovely people. We are back for another live Q&A, and thank you very much for joining me again. Put in the comments there, please, where you're calling from and what time it is where you are. We have got Robert here from Virginia in the USA, Klaus from Germany. We've got Brenda Palmer here from California, and it is 11:30 a.m. in California. Well, there you go. It's 7:30 p.m. here in the UK. It's been raining for the whole afternoon, so I'm pretty sure it's much better out there in California. Barry from Lancashire. So thank you very much for joining me. We're going to have a guest a bit later on. I'm going to answer some questions. We've got some really good photography to look at, and we've got a lot of good things to go for the next hour, so sit back and relax. Now, a couple of things. Last time we got so carried away talking to Charlie last week, if you remember. Sorry, last month we was talking to Charlie, the major from the British Army, that I forgot about the albums, right? So I've left them up there. This one would be really good if someone can get that, because you can hardly see it. But if someone can get that, then you are an absolute genius. Them ones there on the shelf, they're a bit easier. So, yeah, have a go at that. Nice lager top for this evening's session. It's been hot the last few weeks, and there's a nice beer, a lager top. It's the standard. Anyway, cheers. And we will get on with the first question in a minute. We've got Stuart Hampton from New Zealand, and it is 6:30 in the morning out there in New Zealand. And Stuart, I've got your question here. I'm going to answer it for you. Yeah. Let's just have a look. We've got someone from Brazil here. Bruno, 3:30 p.m. in Brazil. It's absolutely fantastic. And we've got people from all. I'm sitting in my little office pod in Essex here in the UK, and we've got people from the Netherlands, from Brazil, from the USA, from New Zealand. Absolutely fantastic. Oh, Neil, you are absolutely clever there. Look, ta-da, I'm going to put it on there. Neil Recce. George, Michael and Faith. Well done, mate, because I thought that was a bit hard to see. It's a classic album, that, to be honest with you. Faith by George Michael there. That's a great photo as well. I picked that as well for the photography. I think the photography is great in it. Well done, Neil. I didn't think that someone was going to get that, but well done. We've got someone from Washington in the USA. Right, while you're typing in there, let's answer Stu's question. It's a really nice one, actually. It's for everybody. I'll answer it, but it's for everybody, so listen up, please. It says, so Stu from New Zealand, on a recent visit to a local art shop, he showed the artist in the art shop some of his photographs from Antarctica, including a photo of a seal pup. And this particular photograph won a national competition. Well done there, Stu. And it prompted the artist to describe the photo as a work of art, right? And one that he would have been proud of painting. That's the artist in the shop. Looked at his picture and went, that's a piece of art, and I would have been proud to have painted something like that, right? So it prompted him to think about this as a question. So basically what he's saying is that photo that he took in Antarctica art, right? What's my views on it? Or he also puts, can a photo be a piece of art? Well, that is a question that's been banged around for many, many years, but I think it's been firmly answered, since probably the 70s or the 80s. Photography is art. You go to art galleries and you see photography on the wall. You have fine artists that use photography as their art form. Andreas Gursky probably being the most famous. He's got the most expensive photograph ever sold. I think it was, I can't remember now, $1.5 million. I just made that. I think it's something, it's a lot of money, right? So when you've got photographers or artists, I think they're artists that use photography, selling work for that kind of money in art galleries, it's quite a solid answer, isn't it? It is art. Photography is art. Now, there is obviously the other question. Let's just say like a sports photographer, they're paid to go to the Olympics, take pictures of the Olympics, goes in the BBC and whatever else. Is that art, or is that photographing? Is that just like a document of the Olympics? Well, I think it is art still. You got to look, they're so beautiful, some of them photographs. I shared it on the Facebook page, the BBC, the photographers. The BBC did an article on the photographers of the Olympics, and it's some fantastic work and artwork. I think it is artwork. And let's have a look at what other people are saying here. You've got Fat Bob in Sunny Lois. I just had to read that because it took me high. Barry Ryder, all photography is art. Brian Nicholson there. Hiya, Brian. He joined us a few months back. Brian he's had an artist asked to paint one of his images. That says it all. Robert Hughes, I will come back to that in a minute, actually. And yeah, there's a few people. All creative imagery is art. That's from Goodwill Ambassadors. I don't know what your name is, but that's a very poignant message there. Let's answer a few more. We're going to get the guest in soon. Let's answer a couple more. I'm mixing it up a bit. Normally I get the guest in at the start. I'm just mixing it up a bit. I'm answering a few questions, getting the guest in a little bit later. So that's all. So if you have got a few questions, I mean, we've got one here from Robert Hughes. Question, I have Lightroom set up like you wanted it to. I take it you're on the course, Robert. The photos look like too much contrast from the get-go. Is it the camera setting I need to change? It's the Canon R5. Well, to be honest, Robert, I don't know because I can't see it. If it's too contrasty from the get-go, firstly, does it look contrasty on the back of your screen on the camera? If it does, then it's to do with the camera settings, whatever you might have something set in the camera. If it doesn't, it's more than likely your monitor, as a matter of fact. So I would calibrate that. Yeah, so a bit more information on that, really. Here we go. God, this Neil's on fire tonight, isn't he? Look at him. The Andreas Gursky picture went for $4 million. Is that American dollars? I would assume it is. Sounds about right. And it's a fantastic photo. Have I got it? Let me have a look. Not the original. I wish I did have the original, but I've got a book. Andreas Gursky. It's going to take me ages to find it, but let me go. I can give you a rough guide to the type of work that he creates. I know what you're thinking. That ain't worth millions of dollars. What have I got in here? Oh, how's your luck? Look at that one. That's a picture called the Rhine. Really, really famous piece of art by Andreas Gursky. Neil, if you want a little job, Google the Rhine by Andreas Gursky and tell us how much that got. That was a few million as well. I think that was the second most expensive photo ever sold, that one. Anyway, there you go. That's Andreas Gursky. Right, let's put that back there. We like going off on a tangent here, don't we? And I'll just kick the table. Right, here we go. Let's have another question, shall we? And then we're going to get the guest in. We have got one here. It's an easy one from Dennis Beetle here from Bedford. Any news on the landscape course? Right, it is coming, guys. I'm sorry it's been delayed. Unforeseen circumstances is what I'm calling it. Other people call it COVID, right? But basically, it's just the filming just got postponed. Something else, something did actually happen on the filming where we had to, it was weather. We couldn't help it, so we had to go back and refilm. Anyway, we should be filming the last part of that landscape course next week. And then that's all the filming done. And then we've just got to do some more editing and then it'll be released. So hopefully, Dennis, we're thinking the end of October. Yeah. And I do apologize. That it's taken so long because we did want it to be released by August. And it's just one of them things, I'm afraid. Any questions here? While we're on the courses, this one here, the macro course, has been filmed. The whole lot's been filmed. We've got it. We're just going through the editing process of that. We're going to aim for the landscape one first, then the macro one. Okay, so one thing at a time. But that one, once we release, we've said December. That's giving us plenty of time because we don't want to let anyone down. But when we get more firm to when it's going to be released, then we can give it like within a month or so. So it could well be November actually, but we've said December. That gives us plenty of time. And no one's put any questions in, so I think it's about time to. There's Paul from Bardfield. He's just down the road. Paul Kenny from Bardfield. Hello, Paul. You're just down the road. Not like there's other people in California and Brazil, and then you've got Paul who's literally down the road. So this is how it works when you do live Q&A stuff. Now we're going to bring in a guest now. Our guest this month is John Harrison. He's a member. He's fairly new to photography, and I'm getting him in because it's nice to have someone who's fairly new like you lot. He's going to share his story, and let's without further ado, let's bring him in. Hello, John. You're in.
Hiya, Mark. Hiya, you all right?
Yeah. You okay?
Yeah, good.
Thank you again for joining us, John. I really do appreciate it, and I'm sure that people will get a lot from your story. All right. So, John, quickly tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into your pictures.
Right. My name's John Harrison. I was born in Sheffield. Well, let's start again. I'm 54 years old. I was born in Sheffield. I've spent most of my life in the military. My dad was in the army. I was in the army for 23 years. I left the army 10 years ago. I then went into truck driving, which I finally retired from on the 8th of September, a couple of weeks ago.
So I'll tell you something, John. If you've retired, did you say 54?
Yeah.
You can't be. That's not bad, is it? To be honest with you, to retire at 54,
it's not. But it's not full retirement. The wife's got her own business, so
she earns the money.
Yeah, she does now. Yeah, she does now. And that's the reason behind my photography, basically.
Yeah.
She does venue decorating.
Yeah, go
on. Weddings, birthday parties, that type of thing, and the photos she was taking were on a phone, which were fine.
Yeah.
You'll see some of them on there, which were fine. But she wanted to up the business a little bit. So she went and bought me a camera. And it started there.
And she said, you can do it, John. I'm not going to pay someone. I'm going to get you in to do it instead.
You do it. There you go. There's a camera. She bought me the camera for Christmas. And it sort of gone from there. I did the usual, the same as everybody else, really. I went on to YouTube.
Yeah.
I did find a bloke that taught me the basic setting. Your shutter speed, aperture, ISO, learned all that type of stuff from him. But then I started editing, and editing just blew my mind. On YouTube, it was using things I didn't know, and then I searched for somewhere to do editing, and that's where I came across TSOP, and it's just gone in leaps and bounds from there.
Yeah, well, thanks, John. Just what do you think the importance of editing is to a picture?
I just think it enhances the picture. It makes it look how you took the photo. That sounds strange, but
no, it does not sound strange at all. Yeah,
the camera doesn't depict what the eye sees, and the editing allows you to edit it to show what the eye sees.
The camera's taking the raw data, the raw light, and that's why you got a raw file, right? Like if you go back to the film days, you'd put it into boots and they would process it, but they would be processing it with certain chemicals, certain paper to make them photos punch out with color more than it actually was, and it's no different to whacking them through Lightroom. I think if you're not editing the photos, as you have found out, you're missing out on so much, aren't you?
They've improved so much just watching, learning through you. And the beauty of your courses is it's not a one-off thing. You can go back and back and back. So
because you forget things.
Yeah. What I tend to do is watch one of your lessons, go out and practice that lesson, watch another one, and incorporate the previous lesson, and keep going on and on like that. Yeah, I make mistakes, but you know.
But that's the whole point of learning. It's a ladder. And I'll say that in the course. It's you build on one on top of the other. John, let's get in and let's look at some of your pictures. All right.
Yep.
Right. I'm going to just come over to the screen. And just for anyone new to these sessions, I asked the guests to choose 3 pictures and just talk about 3 pictures. Right. So, John, here we go. This is the first picture you've chosen to show everybody. Tell us a bit about it.
Well, most of my photos are taken within a sort of 3-4 mile radius of where I live, and this is just down the road in a place called Brighouse, West Yorkshire.
Nice.
And it to me, it just says England.
Yeah,
you've got
it does,
you're catching a little bit of rain. You've got the canals there. Now, I spent most of my life in Germany, so something like this, it just shouts England.
Yeah,
you know, and I just love the photo. There's no specific reason.
No, well, it's because it's reminding you of, like you say, of England. Was you in Germany in the army for?
Yeah, spent most of my life in Germany.
What, like 20 odd years or something like that?
20. Well, my last posting, I went out in 2000 and came back in 2010.
Yeah.
But as a child, I spent most of my time in Germany because my dad was in the army as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. My father-in-law was posted in Germany as well, actually, and the kids there had a few years out in Germany as well. Yeah, but they loved it, to be honest with you.
I'd go back tomorrow if I could.
Yeah, they loved it out there. Well, that's the first picture, and I totally agree. In pictures, it's a feeling at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And if it gives you that feeling of home, let's put it that way, like home or England or whatever, then obviously it's succeeded. I think that's fantastic. And by the way, people watching, if you want to ask questions or, comment along the way for the pictures, for John to answer or for me to answer, we can do them as we go. This is a live interactive thing. This is what it's for. And just coming back to the editing. Oh, and we're 30. Once you type something in, it takes about 30 seconds, about half a minute for us to see it. So just be aware of that from home. We've got one here. Look, from let's come back to here. We're going to have a look at the other picture in a minute, John. I'm ad-libbing it tonight. I'm just going forward.
Yeah, no worries.
Trevor here, he's put in response to what we was talking about. Editing is like having a nice piece of furniture, then giving it a good wax polish to bring out the luster in the wood. Editing does the same. It gives the image polish. That is I've never heard that before, and I think, Trevor, you've hit the nail on the head there. It finishes it off. It certainly does. Thanks for sharing that. Now let's go back to your picture. Hang on a minute. Like that. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Let's go back to the next picture here. There you go, John. Tell us about it.
This one, it's another present from the wife. She bought me a drone.
Yeah.
And I went out. Yeah. Really complicated to use, but yeah, really good fun. I went out the front. This is taken just in the village I live in. And it was a bit of a misty morning, and I thought, I don't know why, but I wonder how deep this mist is.
Yeah.
So I took the drone up, and just took this photo, and it doesn't say anything to me. I just like that picture. I don't know. This was actually the first photo I ever sold was a copy of this picture.
Right.
From a lovely old lady down the road. I put it on social media, and she loved it that much. She bought a copy.
There you go. So, did you charge her like $4 million like Andreas?
I wish I had done. No, 20 quid was all I charged. Basically, I charged what it cost me. to have it produced.
Get it. Yeah. Did what in a frame, like, is it?
But yeah, I just bought a cheap frame.
Yeah. Nice.
And then I went to one of the common photography printers online, got them to print it off. I got it within a couple of days and took it round to her, and she loved it.
Yeah. If we've got a question here, we're going to jump into it. Like I say, I'm just going for it tonight. I'm doing it a bit all over the place, but and I've lost it. There it is. There from Crystal Craig here. Name one or two famous photographers that inspire you and why. I'm assuming she's asking both of us, I suppose. But do you know? Do you want to go first, John? Or
I don't really follow it that much. I mean, I've only been into photography since sort of Christmas time. I've not had much time to study. My inspiration. This is going to sound corny. My inspiration comes from you and the assignments that you set. No, it's the assignments that you set. You set the challenge to go out and photograph something.
Yeah.
And a way of photographing it, and that's what's getting me out and playing about with the camera.
That's what the assignments are for. That is why I set them. It's the school teacher in me. It never leaves you once you've done a few years in a school, mate. It never leaves you. Setting assignments is what pushes people. It gives you focus, doesn't it? It gives you something to do.
Yeah.
I think it's great. But I'll tell you, I'm going to come back to, like, because you've been doing it for like a year or just under a year or whatever. It's very, very common. Like when I did classes of adults, like loads of adults in front of me, I would mention names like Don McCullen, like Andreas Gursky, like all these big famous names, and very rare did anyone know who they were. But if I said Paul Cézanne or Picasso, or Van Gogh, so instantly people know the name. They're like painters, they're not photographers, and it does make me. I've never really got it, but I think it's probably because photography is so much more accessible than painting. You just get your phone out or whatever and do it. But the point I'm making is it is important to look at photography, at famous photographers, at the masters. And for me, I mean, just to answer Crystal's question there's a photographer, as an American photographer, I think Crystal's American actually, there you go, called Nan Goldin, right?
So I'm writing these down as well.
Nan Goldin, right? Hang on. Right. It's an over 18 book, by the way, if anyone's going to buy it, remember that, right? And it's documentary photography. Look how thick it is. I bought this when I was at university, and what she did was she just photographed her and her friends through the 80s, right? But during that time, her friends, we had the AIDS outbreak, didn't we? And I think New York, it was in New York, and I think New York got hit really hard with it. And a lot of her friends were dying of AIDS, and she was documenting it along the way. And there were some other troubles in her life. And I just remember seeing that when I was at uni, and I just thought, wow, this is amazing, because the pictures are not aesthetic. They're not like pretty pictures. They're not like that drone picture or anything like that. Yeah. They're just raw pictures of life. And
I think I remember seeing something like that on telly on one of these photography programs that I was watching.
Yeah. There's lots of people like Nan Goldin that just document the life around them.
Yeah, I remember the photography, the series of photographs. I couldn't tell you who it was by, but I remember hearing something about somebody documenting her friends, and I think that was it. And they did show some of the more decent pictures, not.
I won't open the book because I'll get banned from. I think I'll get banned from YouTube if I open that book up. But to answer Crystal, that's one of the photographers. Don McCullen obviously is another one. I like the document. I like the real photographs. I think that they're much harder to achieve than a landscape picture is. And I'm not saying that the good landscapes are not hard to achieve. I'm just saying that sort of stuff is harder to get. So there you go. There's just two there, but there's loads. I could go on forever. And as a message to anyone else getting into photography, if you don't know names like I don't know, like Jeff Wall, Nan Goldin, Robert Capa, man, it's so blown. Like Robert Capa, like he's just the biggest war photographer or the best that's ever
Was
been.
he the one that got the shot of the assassination?
No, that's Eddie Adams. You're talking about Vietnam?
Yeah.
That's it. That's Eddie Adams.
Right.
That one there. And all right, there's your wife's in the your wife's in the
Gonna make coffee, I think.
That's Eddie Adams, another great photographer. But the point I'm making is if you can't roll these names off, then you need to look at photography. It's really, really important. Just grab a book called, the 100 favorite. I've got it. I've got one down there. 20th. I can look at it now. It's the 20th century photography, or the best of 20th century. Anything like that, you can look through it, and you'll pick these names up. Then you can go forwards and look further into that photographer. But it is extremely important, I think, to look at photographs.
I'll take that as a lesson then, Mark, and I'll go look at that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's a few names popping up here. I just want to come to it. There's a few names popping up here from people. I'm not going to mention them because I don't, it's not my place, but there's names that like people like that are YouTubers and things like that. And I'm not saying that they're like, not good photographers. I'm not talking about that. But what I'm saying to you is you need to be looking at things like what David Booth's saying here, like Magnum photographs, people like this. I mean, the absolute masters of photography, not people that you see at YouTube and all that kind of stuff. I know that they're probably good and all that, but I'm talking of a different ball game, if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. I hope I'm not coming across as, you know what I mean, as a thing. But no. There's a few questions coming through now, and I think we've got people talking, which is really good. And so that needs to go on the top shelf, Mark. No, it's not that bad. Christ almighty, it's not that bad. And let's just go over. I'm going to come back to some of this because there's some good stuff coming up here. So keep it coming.
Brian Nicholson.
That one there.
Do I have a favourite genre? Not really. At the moment, I'm just learning photography. I'm learning how to use my camera. If anything, it's dog walking pics. Most of my pics are taken while I'm taking a dog out. As a genre, no. I'm still sort of finding my feet. I think it'll take a while yet.
If you remember Charlie last month, she said the same thing. She takes a lot of her pictures when she walks to her work, and then but why not? Why not? If you've got a lovely backdrop, you might as well, eh?
Whenever I go out, my camera goes with me. So that's my genre of photography, if you like. Anything I see, there isn't one at the moment. It's landscape because I'm learning how to use a camera.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that is a nice natural progression. I like taking landscapes. The reason I like it is because it gets me outside. You know what I mean? It gets me outside. It keeps you artistic because you are looking at aesthetics then, and you are controlling photography. You are looking at composition and light, and everything is nice and controlled in some ways. The weather's not controlled, but the rest of it is. But then with the documentary stuff, it's not as controlled. It's like right place, right time, right. Just knowing, having that eye.
Once I get a bit more confident and can pick my settings without looking at them, then I might go on to a bit more, sort of street, people photography, that type of thing. But at the moment, all right, I've had the camera 7 months, but I'm still, if it's up at my eye, I've got to take it down to look at where my ISO button is and what have you, So at the moment, I'm still learning. It's coming thick and fast, but I'm still learning.
Yeah, well, good. It's nice that we're all still learning. But to answer Brian, for me, I think everyone probably knows it. I love the documentary type stuff. That's me. That me is getting my teeth stuck into a project, having the time to tell a story, and looking at real life and putting it into pictures. I mean, that's it for me, I think. There's a quick, easy question for you, John. What camera do you use?
I've got the Canon EOS 250D, which comes with the 18 to 55mm lens, kit lens. I've since been and bought the 50mm lens, the 1.8, the cheaper version.
The Nifty 50.
Yeah, the Nifty 50. And I've also got, I think it's Tamron 70 to 300. But it also does macro as well. So, it's sort of 2 lenses in one. And that's basically my kit. That's all I've got.
Yeah, good. It's a perfect starter kit, to be honest with you. You don't need more than that.
Well, I was offered a friend of mine said it was a better camera. But then when I looked at it, his megapixels were smaller. He can't connect. This thing does everything. I can connect it to my phone. I can connect it to my computer, Wi-Fi. I don't have to go out and buy one of those manual shutters. I can't remember what it's called now. I can do it all through my phone.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. It brings us to another question that I've got here from a member that can't be with us this evening. So for people watching, if you can't be with us on the evening to ask you questions, you can submit them via the member email that we send out. And that it says it's to do with cameras, so that's why I thought it'd be a good time to bring it in. It's from Alan Early from Bury St Edmunds. I would be most grateful if you could give me your professional opinion on whether a full frame camera gives a better overall image than a crop sensor camera, right? I appreciate that there's advantages with image size and this, that, and the other. He's got a Fuji X-T2, which is a great camera anyway. The largest size that Alan would print to is A3. Is it worth the investment? As I would have to switch from Fuji. Right. So firstly, that Fuji X-T2 will easily print A3 without a shadow of a doubt. Full frame does. Let's just put it on the table. It does give you a better image quality, if that's the word to use. So what I mean by that, if you took the same picture with a full frame, the crop sensor, you're going to have more detail in the full frame version, right? The colors are good. You're going to have a more gradient of colors and tones and everything like that. That's because the sensor size is bigger. It's capturing more detail. And there's a lot of science that goes behind it. But the general, let's just put it in a sort of nutshell, right? So if you're capturing that much detail with a crop sensor, and then you're capturing that much detail with a full frame, it's pretty clear which one's going to have the more detail, right? Because this is bigger. But it doesn't necessarily, you've got to weigh up what you actually want it for. So we've been working with a wildlife photographer who uses micro four third camera like this. Okay, right? And the quality of the pictures are unbelievable. And this is a smaller sensor size and is fully professional, one of the best in the country. He's working with, I'm not going to announce anything, but it's just, he's working with us at the minute, right? And then we're working with the landscape photographer, the course that's coming up. He uses full frame Nikon, 43 megapixel turbo nutter, you know what I mean, right? Big, massive thing. And because he wants the dynamic range and this, that, and the other. So it's horses for cook, but that camera is absolutely massive and heavy and you carry it around. But he's happy with that because he gets all of this dynamic range of it. So, yeah.
If you look at them pictures of mine, Mark, that one of the canal and the one of the drone one, and then the last one that I sent you,
Yeah,
the canal,
we'll come to that in a sec. Yeah, go on.
the canal and the last one, they were taken on my camera with a raw setting, raw files. The drone one is a JPEG. So for me, I'm not fussed about sensor size. The quality of photos I'm getting for me are fine. I haven't got a problem with any of the, the settings and everything. Like I say, that's a JPEG. All right, you can't do as much with it, but you don't need to.
No,
really.
That's right. No, you don't. Not for that. Only if you want to start printing it on a billboard or something.
Well, that one was printed on a 18x12 print. The one I sold was an 18x12 print, and you couldn't tell. There was no pixelation or anything like that. It was perfectly fine.
Yeah. Jonathan Fletcher, the answer is yes. And there's someone here. This is from Kevin. He went for APS-C crop sensor because it's easy for him, which is great. And what does this one say? A 24 megapixel camera before it starts to affect the I don't know that was probably answering someone else. Sorry.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, sorry. I think it was part of this. What's the largest print you can get from a 24 megapixel camera? I think it was in 2 bits. I don't know that off the top of my head because it's mathematical, but I would say you would easily get an A3 print out of that. I mean, I can answer it like that. Right, we're gonna go on to John's last go like that, and this one here we have saved the best till last here. John, do you want to explain it for us?
Yeah, this is my favorite picture of all. This is one of the luckiest photos I will ever take.
Oh, don't write yourself off yet. This is...
No. This is the Shambles in York.
Mm-hmm.
And I just joined TSOP. And a friend of mine said to me, come on, let's go to York, get some photos of York. And I ummed and ahed about it. And the wife kicked me out, says, go on, get yourself over there. So we went into York. Now the Shambles, I don't know, people might know in the group, it's one of the busiest streets in York. To get this photo with nobody on it is unbelievable.
It takes a pandemic to do that, John, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And this was the first photo I ever entered into one of your assignments.
Yeah.
And
the nighttime one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was either nighttime or leading lines. I can't remember.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And you chose this as your monthly favourite. Now, the confidence that gave me was, right, I'm off out now. I'm taking my camera. Wherever I go, my camera is going everywhere. Because, to get a shot like that, you're first. That's why I say it's it's a photo of a lifetime, that.
Yeah. I thought it was. Well, I tell you what. Sue's asked a question here. I don't suppose you remember off the top of your head, do you? The settings. What were your settings?
F22. 30 seconds.
Yeah.
ISO 100. At a guess.
There you go. Perfect nighttime settings. Actually, classic settings. I use similar settings all the time. So that, let's come back to that now. Let's talk. So I love this picture because I can't remember if it was the night one or the thingy one, but there's such a feeling to it. And just like you said, John, you don't see this picture very often of the Shambles. No. I see millions of pictures of the Shambles because it's such a photographed place, isn't it? The Shambles up in York.
It's where all tourists go in York, and they all go to photograph this. But
it's an Instagrammer's like dream, isn't it?
Yeah.
But to get it wet of a night time with no one on there, right?
I think it was about 10 o'clock at night in January.
It's good.
And just because we'd not long finished work, and the friend of mine, he's a photographer as well. He took exactly the same picture
Yeah, yeah, and I bet he
with
thought
a,
he's good. Yeah,
well, he
he
took
liked.
his with a full frame camera.
Mm.
I know it's a
I
Canon, but I
bet
can't remember which one.
a
But was
5D maybe.
embarrassed to show it because
Oh,
I'd
was
done
he?
that. Yeah,
Well, but the fact of the matter is, if you took the same picture with a full frame and your picture at the same settings and whatever, and they will just look the same. No one would tell the difference
no,
that one was done with one or the other.
no,
Not a shot like this. I mean, I've took night pictures, some really good night pictures with micro four thirds cameras, because you keep the ISO low. It's only
yeah,
when the ISO goes up high, because like you said, this was ISO 100. So that actually don't really matter if you're on a micro four thirds, full frame, crop sensor. If your ISO's at 100, you're good to go. Mike Ford, I think I know the answer to this, but he's asking, did you use
did I use a
flash?
flash? No, there was no flash there whatsoever. It's
Yeah,
actually quite brightly lit at night. There is a lot of street lights,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
actually wanted that starburst
yeah,
effect on the
yeah,
lights, hence the
yeah,
F22.
yeah. That's right. Well, if you have a long exposure, lights start to burst like that. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's fantastic. I really loved it. What
I think a flash
was
would have
the?
spoilt that.
Yeah, you couldn't use a flash on. I mean, for Mike there, just so that for night photography like this or bridges or the stuff that I do in London, you wouldn't use a flash for any night photography really, because once you start opening that shutter for 30 seconds, plenty of light does come in as long as you've got it there, like in the streets and whatever. So yeah, you normally wouldn't use flash for this type of night photography. Geraldine, just I think it was 30 seconds, wasn't it, John?
30 seconds. Yeah, 30 seconds. That was the maximum my camera would go to before I realised I could go to bulb and use my phone. But yeah, 30 seconds was that one.
Yeah. Well, it's a fantastic picture, and yeah, well done for sharing it to the group. And it was a deserved winner that month, in my opinion. And I'm sure
I've actually printed that off, and it's up on my wall up here as well.
Yeah, it's good. I bet people, as you walk in the house, they notice it as well, don't they?
We haven't had many guests, to be honest, but yeah, they
Oh,
do.
right, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they will
in
do
fact,
when already.
all these photos now here used to be
Yeah.
oil paintings. They're actually all my own photos now.
Right.
We've got as part of Debs' business, we've got a photo booth with a photo printer.
Yeah.
So I just print my photos off on that. Just a normal, 6x4 print, and they all sit nicely in the frame. So you'll get all the best ones get printed off and put in my frames.
Yeah. So we've got Natalie Williams here going to Dungeness. Where's that? Is that Kent? I was thinking. Oh, I don't know.
It's Scotland, isn't it?
Scotland. Oh yeah, where am I thinking about? This weekend to do some landscape photography. I was thinking of using a wide angle lens and a 50mm. Any advice? Well, yes, they sound like good choices to me. I think I've just taken a guess that she's asking for an advice on what wide angle lens to take, maybe.
The widest I go is 18mm because that's the lens I've got.
Yeah.
And I seem to be able to get everything. It depends on what you want out of your photos.
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to come back to it. I knew it was in Kent. I think it's where but there's Dungeness. There's these boats. It's a very photographed place. And Rob, you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong, but there's these boats that are sort of ditched, up on the shore, and people take photos. It looks quite cool actually. And there's a track. I think there's a train track. I've always wanted to go down there and photograph it, to be honest with you. But anyway, that's my knowledge of England. I know, yeah. That is right. So Natalie, just like John was saying, a standard kit lens is going to give you a wide angle. If you're on the other option you've got is an ultra wide angle lens. They're really good. I love the ultra wide angle. I took so many pictures on the ultra wide angle lens, and on a crop sensor camera, 11 millimeters, roughly 10, 11 mil. I think if you're a Canon user, they do a nice 10 to 21 mil lens. Someone correct me.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. And then on the full frame Canon, it's a 16 mil, or full frame any camera. 16 mil is ultra wide angle. And yeah, so if you're going to invest or you're going to borrow a lens from somewhere, get an ultra wide angle and see how you go with that. I'm sure you'll love it, especially down in Dungeness, getting close to them boats. You can get really close, stretch it right out. It's fantastic. Yeah, definitely. Let's have a look for some more. John, you see anything there?
Not at the moment. I mean,
I thought truck
drivers knew where everywhere was. No, I've only been driving 10 years, so.
Yeah. You've not been to Kent. You don't come down to Kent.
No, don't go down. I'm up in Leeds, near Leeds at the moment, so I never.
Yeah.
London's probably about the furthest south I went, and up to Edinburgh, Glasgow. That was sort of my my patch, as it were. But I've given that up now. Stay local.
Yeah. Brian, there's the Tokina 11 to 16 mil on a crop sensor. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's yeah, there you go. And that's the Canon 10 to 18. Yeah, cheap and good. Yes, I think that is a good one, actually. I remember someone else using that once on one of my courses. And yeah, it is a nice cheap one. Yeah, there you go. Someone else has mentioned, and this is actually a really good tip as well for landscape photography. Often we go wide, but a nice cropped in shot works well. Generally, though, for the mountains and that sort of stuff, maybe not for where you're going in Dungeness, but it's definitely a good tip there. And let's have a look for some more questions. Don't forget to type them in. I've got some more. Can you see any there? Have you chosen? That's a good idea. That's Crystal again. This is for you, I would imagine, John.
Have I chosen my project?
This today, is for our members, for anyone that,
I've chosen it today. I'm going to do war memorials.
Wow.
Different war memorials, predominantly within West Yorkshire. However, next month, I'm also into motorbikes. Next month, I'm taking part in what's called Ride to the Wall. And it's a national event. And we ride from all over the UK down to Lichfield, to the Memorial Arboretum. Mm-hmm. On the Saturday, I meet at Woodall Services on the M1 with, at the moment, it's forecast to be 800 bikes.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, and when we get down to it is. When we get down to the Arboretum, on the last few years I've done it, there's been over 7,000 bikes. So I'm going to get some photos from that.
So bikes. So your project could change from war memorials to motorbikes.
Incorporating both. I mean, I'm a member of the British Legion Riders as well. So there's a lot of things that I can go out and photograph there. I just haven't got the nerve up yet to ask them.
And for all members watching at the minute, that project's assignment is going really well, and it doesn't have to end. That's the whole point of that assignment. I know they're monthly assignments, but don't think that they've got to end. It's for you. It's for you to get your teeth stuck into something and have something short term, like to show everyone in the group, but also to have something to keep going forwards with as well. So don't think, if you're doing war memorials, you can carry on posting for
I mean, at the moment I've decided to do sort of within walking distance, short driving distance, but it will go further afield. The more and more I do, the further and further I go, the more, and like you say, it may change.
I am just going to come to something here by Neil Ricky again. Remember, right at the start, for those people that have just joined us, right at the start, I was looking at Andreas Gursky and the most expensive photo ever. I've heard this story so many times, and I have to bring it up because this is Google for you, right? that the Rhine 2, yes, it was called Rhine 2, sold for $4.3 million. Now, this next bit, Neil, is not true. It's said and reported to have sold for, this is Peter Lick, a photo by Peter Lick. It's in the Arizona desert. It's one of these ones with a light beam going through it, for $6.5 million. But all that was Peter Lick's gallery owner or whoever saying, hey, I've sold one of his pictures for $6.5 million. Thanks. There's no proof for it anywhere. Whereas the Rhine was sold at auction, I think Sotheby's. So no one can prove that one there. That is a contested thing, that 6.5 million. So the actual one that sold for the most still is Rhine 2, unless you want to believe the other one. There's no actual real evidence for it. So, and what you've got to understand is when it comes to art dealing, art is only worth what someone else says it's worth, right? So if you're saying, this photographer's artwork is worth $6.5 million, it's done so that everyone else jumps on the bandwagon. So yeah, I'm not saying it's not true, but it's not, well, there's no real proof for it, but there is proof of the other one. And that is a common thing that pops up all the time for the most expensive photo ever sold. Maybe a bit more research. Maybe I'll do a YouTube video on it and we'll get right to the bottom of it, shall we?
Yeah.
How do I get into your course? There we go. Let's do a sales pitch. Go over to the schoolofphotography.com and there's a little button. It says join now. You click that and the rest is history. All right. It's as simple as that.
You won't regret it.
You won't regret it, Rob. You won't regret it. Come and join us. Oh, right. I've never heard this. This is something new to me. Esther Royden. Now, should landscape images read left to right, as some of our judges have told us, to flip the image to improve the visual impact? My word. I have been doing photography since 1997. I started a photography degree, and this is the first time that I've ever heard someone say landscape images should read left to right. All right, so
I've got a better one than that, Mark. I was out in my truck one day, and I was chatting to where I was delivering, to a gent where I was delivering, and explaining getting into photography and everything. And he said, the best way to take a photograph is upside down.
Right. You stand on your head.
Yeah, basically turn your camera upside down and take the photo.
Right, okay. Well, then you can just flip it around on a computer. It don't make sense.
Exactly. No, it don't make any difference whatsoever.
It's like getting a print and going, look at it, and going like that.
Yeah. But no, he was like, the best way to take a photo is upside down. Look at all my pictures I've taken upside down, and they're not upside down.
I can understand if it was like his thing. It could be his thing, couldn't it? It could be his style.
Yeah.
But Esther, I've never heard that. Whoever your judges are, you need to go and smack them in the face or something. I don't know. So let me tell you something. If there's lots of different ways to take a picture. It's how you can put things to the left, to the right, in the middle. You will judge that at the time. I mean, there's famous film directors that purposely break the rules of composition in their films to give it more impact.
That's sort of their genre, isn't it? You know, they do a specific thing to that film to put their mark on it. I don't think, I don't think it'd improve anything, but it's their little mark, as it were.
Let's have a look for some more. Would be okay for
Barry Ryder.
Oh, here we go.
I've been told to flip a picture upside down to check edits. I've heard this as well. To check.
Well, this is actually, this is an art technique. Actually, it's not just a photography technique. When I was teaching art, actually, as I was an art teacher in schools, in secondary schools, did photography as well. But in the art lessons, you used to tell kids to turn the portraits, mainly actually, turn the portrait upside down. You see mistakes a lot quicker.
Right.
So it is an art. It's an art technique in general, because it forces you to view things differently, and you see your mistakes quicker. So yeah, I've never heard it done in photography, but I can imagine that it's got the same principle as when you do a drawing or a painting. Another trick, it's an easy trick, is to just come away from the computer or you edit and go back at it tomorrow and do that a few times, and then you will
I
get
do
a
that quite a bit.
perfect
I
picture.
do that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Take a couple of photos and a couple of days later, edit them.
Yeah. This is George Pollock. I've heard that because we read left to right. Yeah, I can understand what you're saying, that you're used to going from left to right, unless you're Chinese, because don't they go from right to left?
And
They
backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The leading line's running away. That said, it's supposed to improve visual impact. Yeah, I've never heard of it, but I mean, I get the theory. We read from left to right. I get the theory, but I swear to God, it's the first time I've heard about it is tonight.
Yeah.
Is there any way to have? Let's see if I can't answer this, someone else may be able to answer it for us. It's from someone called No Plastic. I really do wish people would actually use their names in it. Hi, is there any way to have the mirror on a Canon DSLR to lock to say 10? I would assume that says minutes, not months. Or how you go about taking time lapses that will quickly reduce the shutter count. Thanks. Right, so you can lock the mirror up on a DSLR. I can't remember what it's called. There's a setting in all DSLRs that you lock the mirror up, and that's actually there to clean the sensor. To do a time lapse, or you want a remote trigger with a timer on it, and you can set it to take a picture every 1 second, every 2 seconds, every whatever, and you just take the pictures and you can put it in Lightroom or Photoshop, and it does it for you. It's really quite good. But most modern cameras actually have time lapse settings within them anyway. Like you're watching me on a M50, Canon M50, and all the time lapses that we do for our videos are done on that camera. It's absolutely brilliant for it. So yeah,
I'm going to find that on mine yet. I've not seen it on mine time lapse yet.
Yeah, most of them have got it on it now. In the video, it'll be in the video settings if your camera videos.
Right. Well, I also have a because I ride a motorbike. I've got a camera for my motorbike. And Drift Ghost, and that has time lapse on it. So if I ever need to do time lapse for anything, I use that. Yeah.
We've got a good question here, actually. I'm gonna this one here. Again, it's from someone that use your proper names, will you? Predator 10X. Predator. Do you think a 35mm f1.4 is best for taking portraits? Right. Whether it's best or not is subjective, but it is a really good portrait lens on a crop sensor camera. So on a crop sensor camera, that 35mm would be as your eye sees. The f1.4 part of it will blur that background out lovely. So it really does make a good head and shoulders shot, full body shot. I would also, though, if you want a cheaper version, if you're on a crop sensor, the Nifty 50 would be probably even better for portraiture, because it just compresses the scene, especially for outside portraits. My favorite anyway.
That's what I got my 50mm for. In case I do go into portraits, then or taking blurry backgrounds. That's why I got the 50mm.
It's my favorite. It's on a full frame camera, it's an 85mm, and on a crop sensor it's a 50mm. It's the same effect. But it's a lovely focal length for portraiture, I think. Anyway, you have to stand back a bit, so you need a bit of space, but it's very good, I think. So hopefully that's answered your question, Predator, and you're not hanging out in trees taking out commandos. I bet he's too young to even know what I mean. There, he's not even seen the film.
Probably.
Oh, here we go. Thomas Curie, 85 mil for portraits. No,
Yeah, that'd be all right on a full frame, I think, but on a crop sensor, no, that.
Yeah, on a full frame, it's 85 mil. On a crop sensor, it's 50 mil.
Yeah.
And then no plastic there. Who's the Predator's friend? Probably is saying the same thing. That's good. Now let's. Is there any more questions coming through? Is there any more that you can see?
No, I don't think.
Thanks for all your questions tonight. I'm only taking the mick with the names, but it is nice to. I've never understood why people don't just use their own names when it comes to their personal profiles. But
I'm not sure. I'm just looking. I think somebody asked me what drone I use.
Yeah, well, go on. I just, Murray, I have answered. You're probably coming to a little bit late, but that is coming. We've had unforeseen circumstances, to put it in a nutshell. Fingers crossed, end of October, right? Fingers crossed, end of October. COVID and everything's got in the way, but we're getting there. Yeah. All right. So thanks for that. And
I've got
go on in. What
there it is? Nigel Alexander, right at the top at 751. If that helps, Mark.
Yeah. Go on. Sorry. Go on. Answer it anyway.
Yeah. It's a complicated world, the world of drones. It depends on what drone you've got. They have just changed the laws. I've got a DJI Maverick Mini. Now, it falls below all the regulations. So, in theory, I can use it anywhere I want, whenever I want. But what I've done is I've gone to CAA and registered the drone and registered myself as a flyer. It costs £9 every 3 years, I think it is.
Yeah. And I think, and your one, the Mavic Mini, that means that you're fully legal now, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got the Mavic, the other Mavic, the Air. I've got the Mavic Air, and that is just over the limit, I think.
It all goes on the weight of the drone.
I can still fly it over where nothing's there, so over the sea or over a mountain where no one's around. But if I get anywhere near people, I think I'm not allowed to go nowhere near it. Something along them lines.
Yeah, because my drone's under 250 grams. I can fly my drone. Now on DJI, on the app you get a map, and it tells you on there where you can and can't legally fly.
That's right. It stops you if you press the button.
If the drone flies into it, the drone will stop. It doesn't just fall out of the air. It just won't go any further into that, like round an airfield or something. It won't fly into it unless you've pre-programmed a code.
Check the drone laws, everybody, because they are complicated and they're different in different countries as well. But we'll end on this one because I think it's a good one. It's about an absolute beginner here. Can you tell me, an absolute beginner, what setting I want on a Nikon D90 to take a good photo of the gorgeous moon tonight in Sheffield? Right, listen, Louise. What was the settings? I've got a whole blog on the website, and it's got the settings on there. You can just, and if it's pitch black and you've got a decent lens, it will probably work. I cannot actually remember the settings off the top of my head. Anyway, go over to the schoolofphotography.com. In the search bar at the top, type in moon, and it will bring up the how to photograph the moon blog post. In there is the settings. I just can't remember off the top of my head what they were, but you'll have to.
It's going to be a long shutter speed.
No, because the moon moves faster than you think in that sky. Trust.
Yeah, well, when I say long shutter speed, it's going to be a couple of seconds.
It's not a couple of seconds. If you do a couple of seconds, it will blur. You'll be absolutely surprised how quick that moon goes through your frame like that.
Well, that's
So
why mine's blurry then.
Yeah, 2 seconds would blur. It's I wonder if I could quickly go over to
You see, what I would do is I would
F11 sounds about right, and
aim
I
my
think it's
camera
something
at the
like F11 at I think it might be 1/60th of a second F11, and the ISO is quite high. Right, let's put everyone out their misery, shall we? And let's go over and let's do this first. I'll see if I can find it for you, because it's only going to do my editing and everyone else's editing if I don't bloody find it. So let's go and have a quick look. Sorry.
Go on, John. I still use the back of the camera, the light meter on the camera to get what I want. You know, if I want a blurry picture, I set my f-stop to quite high, don't you? But it's 1.8 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then everything else is fully manual. And then I just use the light meter on the back of the camera until I get the exposure right. Yeah,
yes, right. You could do that, but you've got to be careful of shutter speed and movement and everything like that. Right, over on my website, you type in moon in the search bar, and it should, fingers crossed, bring up. How they go? Look, that easy. Photograph the moon, and there it is. There, moon photography. You can watch that, and I wonder if I'll put the settings in. There we go. Aperture priority f11. ISO to 100 or as near as your camera would go to it. 10-second timer so that you don't move anything, and then the shutter speed will take it for you. That was because I got two different ways, but this relies on you having a touch screen shooting mode. If you've got touch screen, it's really easy because you're going to get that focus point right on it. If you're going fully manual, I put it on 125th of a second, f11, ISO 100, and you've got to zoom in. Obviously, you've got to have a good zoom lens, and you'll get a shot like that. As long as, is it full moon tonight? I don't know what it is.
I don't think it's far off. Hold on.
No, no plastic here is saying. Yeah, no plastic here is saying that the moon is pretty bright tonight. So there you go. And Crystal Craig's actually, she's put up which is very similar to what I've just said there. So there you go.
Yeah, I forgot 99.8% full moon tonight.
Yes. So who was that from again? I've missed it now. So someone. Here we go. Louise. Hopefully that's going to work for you. And if it does, put it on Instagram, hashtag the School of Photography. We'll all see it and go, well done, Louise. That was a good shot. All right. So, all right. We are 10 minutes over.
Oops.
There's still lots of people watching, so it couldn't have been that boring, John. We must have done all right. There's still loads of people watching. So that's quite good. And I just want to say thanks to John for spending his evening with us. And it's been very pleasurable. And I'm sure people have enjoyed hearing you. Give John some love in the comments, please. And don't forget to join us next month. Keep your eye. This is for members now. Keep your eye on your emails. We always email you out and tell you when the next event is. And it's been pleasurable. So there you go. Goodbye, John. You stay there, and
see you later.
I'm gonna end it for everybody. Been a really good. I'll do it for you guys, and thanks for following and being members. And there you go. Cheers. See you later.